Hey everybody, I'm Maggie and we're back on SRH Access Facebook Live. Happy New Year, it's 2018 and we're here in our prosthetics clinic with Dwight Putnam, and we're really excited to learn about what he does and some of the special things you do. So welcome.
Awesome, thanks for coming back. I know you guys have been down here a couple times before, but I'm always happy to share some of our recent successes. So I've got some stuff, pretty cool stuff I think to show you today. So
perfect. So let's just get started by saying, what do you do for the prosthetics department?
I'm a certified prosthetist. It's my job to design and fit prosthetic limbs of all shapes, sizes, and sorts, anything from missing toes up through entire legs. Same thing with arms and hands. Basically, if you're missing a finger, I can make you a finger, or anything from a finger on up. And so our kids are a very dynamic group, and so you never know what exactly the prostheses are going to be used for exactly. Even if they tell you here, it's not always the same thing once they get back to the house. But it's always a very interesting, very challenging job to keep up with the needs of this group of kids, and so it's always a new day when you come into work, a new set of challenges. So.
What I mean, I know you probably work with an array of children. I mean, is there a certain age group that you're seeing most often? Or?
I do see a wide range, anywhere from 11 months when we're first starting to see the kids walk and fit them with lower limb prostheses all the way up through their 18th birthday. And you see them on a regular enough basis that you become pretty embedded with the family. I always joke about being a professional uncle and having 300 and some odd nieces and nephews out there that I work with, and that I'm all very, very proud of them all. And so it is a varying range, and again, it just depends on what day of the week you're here to see which age of the patient it is. And so it is, with that range of patients, you can obviously see that there is a very wide range of always changing needs, whether it's a lower limb or an upper extremity prosthesis.
That's great. So you've been at the hospital going on a little over 10 years,
A little
right?
over 10 years. It seems like just yesterday I was here as a resident and woke up today, and it's 10 years later, and it's just, exactly.
So I mean, you've seen a lot of kids and a lot of cases. So I mean, how about we take a stroll down memory lane and kind of talk about maybe one of your most memorable?
I spent a lot of time working with kids with upper extremity differences that come down from the clinics upstairs. I've worked with a lot of these kids for a number of years, and I've made multiple devices for them, so it's always awesome to see how their interests change from year to year. And also, in certain aspects, the kids will pick hobbies like musical instruments, and so it's really cool to watch them progress in skill and to take the devices that you've made and to make some pretty cool music with it, or just to make whatever activity it is a little bit more accessible for them. So I've got a couple of pictures here that I can show you for an upper extremity. So this is my friend, and you can see here that Naomi has some differences in the upper extremity. She's got basically what's called radial dysplasia, or potentially ulnar dysplasia. I'm not exactly, I'd have to go back and check the diagnosis, but you can see that she's got some significant differences here. But regardless of whether the kid is missing a limb, or a lower limb or an upper limb, they always want to do the same things that their peers do. And so that's what really keeps it interesting for us, whether it's running and playing sports, or doing something a little bit more finesse like musical instruments. Naomi's been playing the cello for a number of years, and so when she first came, we figured out a device that worked for her. And you can see it's just a silicone glove. This is a little bit fuzzy, but it's custom sculpted to her hand, and so it forms it like a glove basically. And then you can see there where we've created a channel that specifically receives the cello bow. Very much like this device here. You can see that it's soft and it's made out of silicone. It's got the shape of the little kid's hand in there, and so whenever she puts that device on like a glove, it can then insert the bow into place, and then that allows them to do what they need to do on the stringed instruments. So you can go with an option like that. You can do a little bit more simplistic design, which is this is a Kevin Felton design, which is a very simple but elegant device that basically does the same thing, where it clips onto the kid's hand and holds onto a cello bow like that. So you've got all kinds of options when it comes to upper extremity devices. A lot of times the more custom ones are the ones that are a little bit more challenging and obviously a little bit more fun. But recently, Naomi's mom was nice enough to send me a video of her recent recital. So I'm just going to play that for you now. I'm always amazed at what these kids are able to do with the devices that we make for them. And it's not always the devices themselves that are so magic. It's what the kids are able to do with them on a day-to-day basis. Texas for you, which transitions to the Cotton Eye Joe for you.
That's awesome. So with a device kind of like this, I mean, are they, as they're growing, are you having to adjust the device?
Basically, the device has about a 9 month to a year lifespan before they outgrow it, and every year they'll come in for a new one, and that'll change. Basically, the only thing that changes is just the size of it, and so we're able to kind of duplicate and use the same designs from the previous years. But you can use that same philosophy for all kinds of different devices for customized holding on to bats, for example. Sports is a big deal, what we do around here. You can do something for holding on to horse reins. Of course, this is Texas, so there's going to be some horseback riding and some cowboying going on. And so this helps my friend hold on to his horse reins when he's riding horses with his dad. Golf is another big one around here. And so, again, kids with multiple activities and multiple desires are going to want to be doing multiple things. So kids with partial hands, for example, will be able to slide this cuff on, and you can see that it's got an adapter for holding on to a golf club. So this is custom formed to the kid's arm and the wrist, and it allows their hand to still be exposed to the environment so they can get some environmental feedback. They strap it in, and then they just put the golf club in place, and then they're able to hit the tees. And then when they move to the next sport, they can actually use this key here and undo the set screws and pop out that terminal device, and you actually switch in for an unlimited number of different devices. This one in particular would be for holding onto a bicycle handlebar, and they even have it for guitar picks. And so there's really a ridiculously wide array of activities that we can get devices for, and if we can't get them off the shelf, we can make them 100% custom. And so that's one of the aspects that I really enjoy about working down here in our lab. So
I mean, we have kids who probably do, like you said, multiple activities, multiple sports, so you might be making several adaptive devices.
Several adaptive devices, or in some cases, an adaptive device that can be used for multiple purposes. And so, and even with lower extremities, when we're making legs for everyday legs, in a lot of cases, we'll duplicate that for kids with running legs, because as I sit here and think about it, there's really not too many activities that we don't have kids involved in, whether it's high-impact track and distance running, track and field, football, soccer, you name it, we've got a kid out there somewhere doing it with a prosthesis on, whether it's a lower limb prosthesis or an upper extremity prosthesis, and that, again, is what kind of keeps my life very interesting.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So
we can kind of move, maybe you want to move to the lower extremity?
Absolutely, sure,
cool.
Sure.
So I know we have some pictures or videos, or maybe we can go with them.
Yeah, I figured I would just walk you guys through the process. And so the initial process, of course, you'd be coming through a clinic with Dr. Herring or Dr. Johnston upstairs, and sometimes some of the other clinics as well. But you'd be identified through that clinic. You would be seen by the clinic team and basically walk through the whole process. And it's not something that happens overnight. In most cases, they'll come back for multiple clinic visits just to make sure that everybody's on the same page, everybody has the same expectations as far as the outcome. But once the amputation's occurred and the kid is ready for casting, they'll come down and they'll actually be cast with something very similar to this. Here's the kneecap, and here is the rest of the lower limb right here, which we call the residual limb, that's been captured inside of that cast. And so from there, they actually fill this up with liquid plaster and come out with a very nice, smooth, positive model. This actually is smoothed after the fact whenever the practitioner decides how the prosthesis is supposed to fit. That dictates the design and all the different changes that are made to the cast itself. And so you've got a really nice smooth interface right in through there. And about 2 weeks after that, they come back for what's called a test socket fitting. And the test socket fitting allows us to basically diagnose any sort of problems that are potential problematic areas in the socket. We can have the patient put on a sock or whatever type of interface is going on over their limb to protect it. We actually have them weight bear, and then based on their feedback, we make changes or adjustments based on their feedback until they're comfortable in a standing position. And then that's usually the end of that appointment, and they'll come back in another 2 weeks for what's called a dynamic alignment. And you can see that they've taken it a little bit step further in the fabrication process. We've got all of our components lined up in the beginning relationship. And in this way, it allows us to have the patient don the prosthesis and ambulate in our gait lanes back there, and to make changes. All these little lines on the puck and the different levels on the puck allow us to make changes, shift the socket left, shift the socket right, shift the socket forward, shift the socket backwards. And so basically, just based on what we're seeing, what our visual cues are, we make the changes until that child is walking as smoothly and as efficiently and, most importantly, as comfortably as possible. And then in another 2 weeks, they'll come back. It's basically just a finished out leg. So it's about a 6 to 8 week process, and depending on whether the kid gets physical therapy in there, we kind of throw that in there somewhere in between the test socket fitting and the delivery. And fortunately for us, we've got a wonderful PT department upstairs that is always willing to help us. And some of the most awesome part of my job, which is watching the kids take their first steps in the prosthesis, happens upstairs. And so I always like to go upstairs and share that magic with my friends up there. But this is basically what a finished exoskeletal style prosthesis for a kid would look like. You're kind of catching it in a rare new state. Imagine in about 3 weeks, once this thing has been delivered, it's going to look like it's been dragged behind a truck. And that's the highest.
They're ready to get active.
Yeah, exactly. It's the highest form of flattery usually, because the kid will come back about 15 months after he's completely worn through it, and it looks like it's been run over a few times and maybe dragged behind a truck. But that's the highest form of flattery, because the kid's obviously been out there doing everything they want to do.
Yeah.
And so that's what we want.
Awesome.
We want kids to be as active as possible. And so I've got a few pictures here just to kind of walk you through the process. One of my new recent favorites is Lottie. This is Lottie Schwartz right here in the middle. And this is her wonderful sisters and brother over here from the Schwartz family. So Lottie came through the Red Clinic with Dr. Herring. And we have, again, like I said, a very familial environment here. We're very embedded in our family's lives. And so here she is. Lottie's talking important things with Grandpa Tony here. And they're talking about the finer points of fashion and coloring, I'm sure. But most importantly, they're talking about the leg and her situation, which is pseudoarthrosis. She spent the first 6 years of her life in braces and basically not being able to walk correctly with her right leg, and that she was having some issues. And so eventually the family came to the decision to go ahead and amputate, which I think was definitely the best choice. And since then, we've had very much a pleasure to be able to watch Miss Lottie blossom. But you can see here, even before surgery, she is a hoot. Not a sad side at all. She's always very happy and very energetic, and she's got one of the most incredible, contagious laughs I've ever encountered. And here she is, even smiling on her way home after the amputation. There she is, chillaxing at the house, just taking it easy. And here she is showing up for one of our first fittings. She's got her sock on her residual limb, and she is ready to go. And again, you can see down here we've kind of got the initial beginnings of the prosthesis, at least together enough for her to walk on it. And there she is up in physical therapy, listening attentively to all the instructions as far as how to put on the prosthesis, because she's a very independent young woman and likes to do things herself.
In purple, of course.
Purple, very purple, yes. So there she is looking intently, and there she is taking her first steps upstairs. So after about 6 years of having to worry about whether or not that leg was going to work for her, Now she's suddenly given the opportunity to walk without worry. And there she is working with Courtney upstairs, and you can tell right there, she almost looks like she's about to bust a gut laughing. But she's learning how to walk with one hand right there, and that's a very important part. And eventually she'll transition to not using the bars at all. And there she is being a champ in physical therapy upstairs, picking up fish. And I'm just going to play a quick video for you. So basically that, in a nutshell, is why I love my job so much. Just being able to interact with kids like that on a regular enough basis that it, on a constant reminder, it reminds us of what the hospital is all about as far as giving the childhood back to the kids, and most importantly, keeping those family units functioning as healthy and as happily as possible. And so occasionally you get some side effects of ridiculous and contagious laughter, and that's
awesome.
always a benefit. So
wow.
It's good stuff all the way around.
Yeah.
So.
Well, thanks so much for joining us this afternoon.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
We're so happy to kind of get a vision into your world and what you do for our patients. It's pretty amazing.
Hopefully I could provide some sort of clarity, because it is sort of madness behind the curtains up there sometimes.
But yeah, if you have any questions for Dwight, just post below and we'll get those to him. But thanks so much again.
Oh, you bet. Thank you. Y'all have a great day.
See you later.